Hi, I'm Sam Staskal, and I'm the host of this new episode of Funny Things That Happen to Real Estate Agents. Tonight, my guest is from New York. His name is Colin McDonald. He's got a great story to tell. I can't wait to share it with you. So let's get started. Okay, so here he is, and he has a thick New York accent. I love it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. All right. I do love the accents. You know, everybody says I have an accent, but I definitely love the New York and Eastern Coast. It's so thick.
Yeah. It's the whole New York thing. Yeah.
Right. So Colin McDonald, you're in New York. You've been in real estate for six years. Is that what you said?
It'll be 6 years in October. Yep.
Okay, great. Yep. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, like what you did before?
Sure. So before I got into real estate about 6 years ago, I was living in New York City, and I was doing marketing, PR, communications, creative work, and it was great. I was there doing that for about 7 years, but once I slowly shifted from my 20s into my 30s, I wanted to create wealth for myself. And I kind of was burned out from the whole New York City scene, I should say. I wanted some change, a little more space. I was tired of living in a shoebox of an apartment.
Right.
And someone just said, why don't you get into real estate? You'll be amazing at it. You've got an amazing personality. You should give it a try. And that's really what I did. I ended up getting my license. And before I got my license, a year before I got my license, I was kind of the right-hand man for a team of top brokers here in the local capital region area, kind of doing all the marketing for their listings, for their marketing events, and kind of taking care of all the administrative tasks. And it was a big undertaking, but it was a huge learning experience. As you know, this business can be very competitive, so there are not many people who necessarily want to help you out or give a lending hand because they don't want you to be competing with them and essentially keeping their business. But it really helped me be able to build an amazing foundation. And then once I got my license, I kind of hit the ground running, worked for a series of amazing top brokerages here locally in the capital region. And then just recently, January 1st, I kind of went off, jumped off and did my own little niche brokerage here in the city of Albany specifically. And it's been an amazing ride. It's definitely been an interesting ride, to say the least. I have definitely some funny stories to share, and
So you're in Albany, New York.
Yes, yep. I'm in the capital.
What's like the population of Albany?
Oh gosh,
if you had to guess.
There's names. It's not like Manhattan or Brooklyn. It's certainly becoming like that because of COVID and stuff there. We just closed 10 deals, I think, when everyone has kind of relocated up from the area, but it's like New York. I don't know the population off the top of my head. If I had to guess, I would probably say there's probably a million people. I'm not sure. So
a million? Is that
I don't know if it's a million, but yeah.
Can I tell you how many people are in the area I live in?
How many?
So I'm in this small town in Wisconsin, and there's about 12,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So you're like, it's not as big as Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I'm in 12,000, you know?
Yeah,
I'm just a little dot here.
Yeah, right. And I've never been there, so that's
most people haven't.
Cool.
Yeah, I used to work with a bunch of people from like the East Coast, New York and stuff when I was in creative, and they love the Midwest just because the money goes so much further in the Midwest than what it does in New York, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like what's the average price range you think where you're at?
So the average price point for a single family home, I think I just did the stats for last month. It's around $235,000.
Oh, okay.
So that's your average home. I typically don't deal with those type of transactions. Obviously, if a client comes to me and they want to buy a home within that price range, I obviously don't turn them away.
Right.
My focus is more on the higher end. And I also focus more on the higher end when it comes to multi-level. I personally work with a lot of investors, investment groups, holding companies, not only here locally, but in New York, Boston, San Francisco.
Wow.
And yeah, there are. I mean, surprisingly, there are a lot of people and groups that are actually looking at the capital region from an investment standpoint because they've been outpriced not only in the Hudson Valley, which is about an hour south of here and 2 hours north of New York City area. It's just it's a great area. Troy specifically in the downtown by the water. The New York Times did an article in 2010 with them. And it just kind of took off. Everyone from Brooklyn bought up, and now they've got buildings that are going that 12 years ago were going for $30,000 are now selling for upwards of $1 million+.
Oh my God.
Which is insane. So people kind of now have shifted their focus and saw that success in Troy. They've kind of now brought that. They've shifted their focus into Albany just because they've been outpriced in other areas in the state. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just dive into your story.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes, right?
Well, no, I'm just dying to hear because I didn't get to meet with you prior, so I haven't even heard your story yet. I know it's a good one though because I kind of read a little recap about it, so I know it's a good one.
Yeah. So one of my most embarrassing moments probably happened about 6 months ago. I was meeting new clients for the first time. They were looking for their first investment property here in the city. It was like a beautiful fall day. And it was a morning time. None of us really had our coffee yet. So we weren't even caffeinated. It wasn't even circulating through the veins. And so I met them. It was a 3-unit building. So I said, okay, let's start from the top. So we started at the top, beautiful owner suite, 2-level, great, no problems there. So then we make our way down to the first level unit, and I had the keys. I turned the door, and when I started to open the door, I heard a very loud sound. Someone was clearly enjoying themselves. I don't know what was. Obviously, I don't know what was going on, but it was kind of like one of those never happened before. I froze. I looked at them. They looked at me, and it was this sheer panic of oh my God, what do we do?
Right.
And so then it was kind of okay, let's shut the door here. And to make matters worse, the key won't come out of the door now.
Never.
After my 10 showings before that, no problems. But of course, this exact moment, the key won't come out of the door. So I'm literally sitting there juggling the key. Then I think in my head, I start to panic and say, oh my God, what if these people hear me and they think someone's breaking into their apartment while they're clearly in the deed?
Right.
Oh my God, they're going to come to the door. They're going to panic. They're naked. This is going to be, then they're going to call the cop. It's just going to be crazy scenario. I was please God, please. Release. And I was and then it released. We shut the door. We left the property. We had the hugest laugh. We were okay, we're moving on to the next property. But we had the biggest laugh together. And it was kind of just a funny, right. Never would really you expect it. And then I said to myself, well, I don't know if maybe a tenant, I didn't know what was going on in the apartment. Right. So I don't know if somebody were actually doing it or they were actually playing a porno on the TV and acting up to 20 because they didn't want anybody in their apartment.
Right.
So, but it was quite the embarrassing moment.
So did you leave that for feedback?
I did not. No, I didn't leave that for feedback because they put the tenants sometimes on the feedback.
Oh, okay.
I was afraid that the tenant
they would know it was you.
Yeah, and then it was oh God, I didn't want to make matters any worse than they were. So
That's funny. That has not happened to me. I've heard of it happening a lot.
Really?
To other agents. It has not happened to, I mean, I walked in on a bunch of college kids sleeping. They were sleeping.
Oh, I was like, oh, okay.
It was the same thing. We booked it out of there. I mean, the buyer just looked at me. He's like, "What do we do?" I'm like, "Run!"
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've definitely, like, I've walked in on people sleeping.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's
awkward though.
That's like for me, because I mostly just deal with multifamily, so I'm dealing with
tenants
who don't want to leave the apartment. They're not happy that the place is being sold. But it's like, yeah. So that was one story. And if we have time for another one.
Oh, we have time.
Okay. So I'll tell you another story.
Tell me more.
When I first started out in the business, I was kind of, really getting my feet wet. And again, it was a beautiful day. I was meeting clients for the first time. They were relocating to the capital region. She was coming in to do her residency at one of the local hospitals. And then her partner was an attorney. So we end up going to the house. I go inside and, got my khakis on, all dressed nice. First impressions. Yep. And then we go out to the backyard and I'm showing them the backyard. And there was something in the back. And he had asked what it was and I didn't know what it was. So then I bent down to go and look and see what it was. Well, when I bent down, the seam of my pants from literally the crotch all the way up split. I remembered to put underwear on that day. And because it would have been a full moon, right? The moon even came out. And it was they chuckled, I chuckled. That guy had a long jacket on.
Yeah.
In the house, and then after that, I went home and changed my pants. But yeah, I was
it's one of those moments that you panic, but you realize it does happen to other people, But it's still just, when I fell down and my dress was over my head. I mean, I was completely humiliated, you know. Right. But you have to laugh about it. They're going to laugh about you once they leave.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the story they're telling at dinner that night.
Oh, of course. Listen, we just met this realtor and.
Yeah, you're not going to believe what happened,
Yeah, he just, his pants split right in front of us, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's nuts. Yeah. I talked to somebody else who that happened to a man, and they split theirs, but they had, I think, an apron on from work. So it was able to cover it.
I'm good. Okay, that's good. Good.
Yeah. I'm just glad to hear when stuff like that happens to men too, and not just women.
Sure, you guys. Yeah. So
because it's totally a different business, I think, for women than it is for men, just in appearances and how people respect you, and not to say that men have it easier, they don't, but I'm just saying that women, we seem to try harder.
I mean, there are in this local. I mean, there are a lot of some of the power players in this local area are female. They run their little territories or their little areas. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying that women are usually more people pleasers, and they're they're all about impressions, and
trust me. But here's what I do. It's like a dating experience. You go on a date. The first time I meet you, I'm dressed up, But I'm not that type of realtor where I'm going to show up in a 3-piece suit and shine shoes. I'm more of that realtor with the white button down, cool pair of khakis or denim, and a cool pair of sneakers. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But then, today, I had a closing today. We've gone on a bunch of dates. We're now in kind of a relationship. It's kind of that relationship where you kind of fart in front of them or whatever.
You in your pajama pants.
Well, it was a beautiful day here in New York. I wanted to go run in the park. So I said, I'm going to go running in the park before I do my final walkthrough and go to the closing. And then I showed up in my running clothes. But it was all it was all.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So have you got any other stories?
No, not that I can think of.
What's the craziest thing that you've seen in a house there, since you're in a much larger city? I mean, I talked to somebody who had there was naked pictures everywhere, or they had a huge porn stash, or what kind of What's like the craziest thing?
I cannot take credit for this story.
That's all right.
I'm going to say it. It's actually these fabulous two girls, Caitlin McDonald and Brooks. They're with Howard Hanna, another local brokerage here. And when they heard about the hilarious story that I told you earlier, they told me of a story where I guess they were selling a house. And don't kill me, guys. I'm telling this story. But they were, I guess they had this big walk-in closet, and then there was this door with like, I don't know if it was a lot or a peephole, almost like a hotel style, whatever room or whatever. I don't know what was going on. So when they did the inspections, there was a septic, I guess, or something. And I gotta kill you with that. I hope they don't. They don't.
They can call me.
I'm blaming you. They can call you.
Right. They can call me, and then I'll have them on.
So when they did the septic inspection, there was hundreds and hundreds of condoms found in the septic thing. And if anybody knows, the condoms septic can't break down condoms.
Yeah.
So I guess the inspector told them, I don't judge. I don't even, but luckily they just pumped it all out.
Right.
And there were no any issues and stuff like that. But they told me that story.
I have talked to somebody else that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're like, don't flush them.
Right,
like,
right.
Tell that guy that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's that. And that's all I think one time there was we were selling a multi-family in the park here in the city. And one of the tenants had it was almost like wallpaper, and it was like new photos, like all over the apartment. Which
like you cut them out of magazines and just
I think I keep it as like wallpaper, and it was just very awkward when it was like we were trying to sell the property, and I told the new investor was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to do something with this tenant." Yeah.
To each their own, I guess. But yeah, there's sometimes that they should use a little bit of a filter when they're thinking about showing property.
Oh, of course. Or for example, especially with some of these multifamilies, because sometimes there'll be so many units to show. It's just show the best units. Show the 3 best units. Just give an idea of what the condition layout of the property is. I get some people who are first-time investors, they want to see everything, but sometimes it's and then I was just with another showing an investment property, this guy on Monday, this past week. And it was just the way these people live. I mean, I can't really say, but it's just some of the way these people live. It's just you could pick up a mop every now,
I just showed a property a couple weeks ago, and it was a rental property, and my hand literally stuck to the handrail all the way up the steps.
Not with COVID. No, I'd be seriously.
As soon as I got to my car, I was like, hand sanitizer, and then I'm like, I kind of want to go home and shower because that wasn't even the extent of the dirt, but it was just going up. My hand was sticking.
Yeah, that's the one thing we've watched departments and food that it's that's been sitting on the counter over the stove, and you're like, really, how long has that been sitting on the counter? Really, has that been?
They have never ever cleaned their toilet ever in the entire time they've lived there. I'm just whatever, whatever works for them, I guess. But I mean,
his own, I guess. No judgments out here.
Right, and it's when people are renting property, they don't take into account that they don't own the property.
Yeah, they don't own it. Yeah.
Right. They don't own it, so they don't care.
They don't care.
What they destroy and what they do to it. The worst that's going to happen is they're going to have to keep their security deposit,
Exactly.
So they don't take the same care as if they owned it and it was their money, which is unfortunate, but it makes you see some crazy living situations for sure.
Crazy living situations, odd ones. Yeah, I mean, I was just in a house this past week, beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, but you know, you walked into this house and it was literally like when I was in the driveway, it was 2020, and then you walk into the house, and it's like one of the bedrooms has like green Muffet shag style carpet. And it's like I'm afraid one of the Muffets are gonna pop out of the carpet, or we're gonna find a Cheerio from 1983 ingrained in the carpet.
Right.
Psychedelic,
Yeah.
wallpaper
Yep.
on the walls that it's like we're not in the right decade here.
Right. I mean, a lot of people, it's sad. A lot of people don't, once they like buy their home, they don't put any more money back into it. I see that all the time. You know, like everything's in disrepair. And you know, I get it. Sometimes a lot of people don't have the free cash to do it.
Sure.
But sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just they choose to spend the money on other things and not put it back into their investment, you know?
Yeah. But that's the worst mistake that they, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. In our business, yes, it is. But I mean, I've seen plenty of places that haven't been updated for, you know, like 50 years. You know,
well, this was not updated. Some of the original wallpaper and clearly the carpet. I mean, it was like, you know, throw on some Bee Gees and like, you know.
They're just waiting for it to come back in style. It'll happen. That green bag is coming back.
He digs that retro. So I was like, you know, to each his own, but still, you know.
Right.
You know, so.
You never know. For the right buyer, you know, it'll be a huge hit.
Exactly. Right.
That's why I try not to say nothing like negative, because you never know like who's gonna love it or who's gonna hate it. You know.
Well, I mean, I'm like you know, I'm a bit of a no BS broker, so let's tell it like it is.
Right.
You know, I'm not here to like look. I mean, and I get it, to each his own. So a lot of people like that about me. Like I just tell it like it is. Like. And people are like, you know, some people laugh and blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, really. You know?
I was showing a house the other day, and I had met the buyer previously, but I hadn't met her aunts that she brought along.
Yeah. And
we went into this room, and, you know, right away I'm like, well, this must be where he kept all the pot plants, you know, because of the lighting. And she's like, Sam, my aunts are both officers at the prison. I said, well, I didn't say it was my pot plants. I just said it was somebody's pot plants. I didn't say they were mine, you know? So then they were both laughing, you know, because they have a good sense of humor too, luckily. But, you know, I wouldn't say that just in front of anybody that I wasn't like joking around with, you know. But,
yeah, you're all that. I mean, I'm like immune to that.
Right.
For me, it's like it's expected.
Right.
Like if there's not a bong out on the coffee table, this is not the property for you guys.
Right. We see it all the time in for sale by owner picks on Zillow, you know. They didn't put away their bongs. That's one of my favorite spots, you know, to spot those things. It's like, oh my God.
There was one which was, I died laughing. I saw it, somebody posted on Facebook. Which was genius, but it was a house. I think it was out in like Nevada somewhere, or Springs, whatever. But retro style house, and there were like mannequins positioned.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
You saw that, yeah. And it was like perfect for COVID. They said something about if you're feeling lonely or something. But she was like genius, if you ask me, from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's like Zillow Gone Wild always runs those. Whoever runs that page, Zillow Gone Wild. Have you seen those on? I think they're on Instagram. Yeah. It's always funny looking at those because everything looks normal until you get to the one room in the house where it's like a jail cell, and you're like, "What's going on here?" You know?
Yep. You get a couple of those where you got a you know, it must be the pleasure room or whatever. I don't know, right. But it mimics a hotel door with a little peephole. Right. You know, you walk in and the bed's got you put the quarter in and the bed vibrates, and you know,
takes all kinds. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this has been fun. It's been a complete joy talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop you out for a minute, and I'll join you in a minute. Thank you, Colin. Yeah. All right. Like I said, I love his accent. It's got some funny stories. I'm sure it's a totally different market than what I'm used to here in Wisconsin, town of 12,000 versus New York, 1 million people. I bet I would run into all kinds of stuff there. But that's it for tonight. I hope you'll join us again, actually next week. I won't be live next week. I'll be out of town. So it'll be the following week with a new guest on Wednesday night live at 7 p.m. Central Time on both Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you check us out. Until then, I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. I'm having so much fun with the show and with real estate, and none of this would have been possible had I not partnered with Chuck and Angela Fazio with eXp Realty. They've helped me grow and are helping me build my business.
Yeah, it's our favorite thing to do, Sam. Chuck and I have been, top realtors in the industry. We've run top teams. We actually had the second largest independent single office brokerage in the world, but we shut it down so that we can move it over to eXp. And so now we get to spend all of our time working with brilliant people like you, helping you build your business in a variety of ways. So if you're interested in hearing about what it means to partner with me, with Sam, with my husband, Chuck, Michael, Reese, Jay Kinder, it can be done. We can all work together. So just give us a call.